Hello, Terry here, Hot Wrench Fabrication, and I got my new project here, 62 Chevy 2 Nova. Not sure what the difference is between Chevy 2 and a Nova, but 62 is the early model, and it's already had some work done. It's had some body work done, cage put in it, front clip on there, although the front clip is kind of useless. The rack and pinion's completely rusted and froze up. This car's been sitting for quite a while. These control arms are completely froze up. They don't move at all. So I think we're gonna buy a whole new front end and bolt that on. It doesn't have the brakes for it. It doesn't have a sway bar. Shocks I think are probably froze up. So unfortunately, that's all kind of worthless. Whoever did the body work and the cage on this is super nice, although this bar right here needs to move. I mean, that's really high and it's smack dab in the middle. So what I want to do is bend one down, and I'm not sure if I'm going to go that far forward. It's really up there, but we'll take a look at that. Rest of the cage is super nice. Guy did a really good job. And I think they put quarter panels on this thing, but most of the body work is done. They did put a floor pan in this thing in the back, although I think I'm going to cut most of that out and make it kind of nice back here. I do have to do mini tubs on here, so I'm going to cut this guy over here, bring it all the way out to the cage, and then add a strip in here. Just use the original tubs. And then I think we're going to put a fuel cell instead of the fuel tank. And then I want to build a shelf back here and keep all the battery and electronics and everything in there. And then have a divider going across so it's all hidden and make it nice and clean. But yeah, dude, really super nice welds on here, although they're all rusty now. But did a good job on the cage. That looks nice. And then I want to put a 69 Camaro bumper on here. I saw that online and it looks really cool. And clean that up. So it's neat having a car that's just an open slate. Some ideas that I have been wanting to do on things and some research that I've done, and it's gonna be cool. So this will be part one of many parts. This is gonna be a long-term project, but hopefully it'll be some neat content, and we'll jump on this thing pretty soon. So stay tuned for the 62 Chevy Nova build. All right, day one, step one. Got the rear end back out of it. Ford 9-inch over here. I don't know whose this is, but did a really nice job on these brackets. It all looks real good. Unfortunately, I have to cut it apart and narrow it a little bit. I think it's going to be a little too wide, but it's all right. We can handle that. So I cut the wheel tub out of there. It's pretty simple. Just took my plasma cutter and zipped it all along. Left a little bit of a flange on there, so I can clean that up a little bit. But that's pretty simple. Next step's going to be a little bit tougher. As you can see, these frame rails are crooked from the factory. So the center where the leaf spring goes is over here, and then it comes along and it straddles the frame back here. So the frame actually kicks out in the back, which kind of makes it a little more difficult for narrowing. So what I did was put a straight edge on here and figured out how crooked it actually was. So I'm going to cut the frame along this line right here and then come out. And I'm going to have to box all that back in, give it some structure. But this part is one of the parts they already did, which kind of sucks to have to cut cut all that back out, but it is already reinforced in here, so it'll be fine. So once I cut all this out, make a plate in there, box that in, extend this out, and extend this out. Should be pretty easy. And then I'll put a little filler piece on here and do the same thing over here. So this side will be a little bit simpler. So this one goes back, kind of squares off. It goes back because the original gas tank filler comes through here. So this one's actually bigger than this side. This side's a little bit more universal, so it'll be a little bit easier to do. Do the hard side first, we'll get the other side done. Well, this is what I got done so far. Got me a little extension. Still got a couple little places to fill in, but you can see I cut the frame almost in half. Put this plate back in. This plate's actually thicker than the frame, so it's gonna be plenty strong. So cut that all the way back in there. And then you can see, obviously, I added my strip. I gained about 2 inches. So from this edge right here to this edge right here is now 13 inches. So fit a pretty good sized tire in there. And then I just got to go in and weld this up. It fits really nice in there. So that turned out really good. There's a couple little gaps in top, but like right here, and just put some little filler pieces in there. Did end up cutting the whole trunk out. The trunk's dipped down about 2 inches right here. I'm not going to use the stock gas tank to put a fuel cell in there, so I'm going to take the floor and just continue it flat right here instead of having it drop down. I think that'll look pretty nice. And then it's also a little bit easier to clamp and pull this stuff in and weld it. So I didn't really show much on the fabrication part of this. A, I kind of forgot. B, I wanted to actually just see what I can get done. Sometimes this stuff's a little tricky, but I'll try and show you a little bit more on this side. Got to cut it out still. So that's where we're at, doing mini tubs. Alright, so hopefully that time lapse kind of came out. I don't do a whole lot of those, but they are kind of neat. So as you can see, the tub is out, sitting right there. It took all of about 10 minutes. It's actually pretty simple. Now we're going to get into a little bit more of a problem. Like I mentioned before, see these frame rails curve outward. In order to get some tuckage, got to go in. I'm going to cut like half of this off. Started down here about the same place I measured, or I started this one. Came in about 1/2 inch. So measure and mark that off 1/2 inch. Come in. This is gonna be a little tricky. You got to cut this right here, and then I'll plate it back so it's nice and strong. And it'll come back probably somewhere around here. Curve it, plate it, grind it, fit it, weld it. We'd be done. Alright, so this side's in too now. I do got to finish welding it still up in there, but fits pretty good. Nice long frame here. A couple little patch pieces to fix and put in, but not too bad. Kind of had to reinforce that a little bit where I cut it off. But yeah, tubs are done. A little bit of welding, a little bit of cleanup work, and then I think next I'm going to work on this big hole right here. I got to go get some sheet metal, fill this trunk in, and then I can get my gas tank fuel cell ordered up and get that put in. So that's next. Alright, so my mini tubs are pretty much done. Got them all welded in. Got to do a little bit of grinding but everything's all covered up and stitched in there. Everything's nice covered. Do a little straightening over here, a little bit of grinding, and then seam seal it. Obviously I gotta do a little tack weld on that. But yeah, just stitched all around. It's gonna be plenty strong. So I'll do a little grinding, a little cleaning, and then seam seal and do some undercoating on there. And then this is the passenger side. Pretty much same thing, all finished up. It's not actually this wide. It went about 2 inches wider, but I still gained some pretty good clearance from here to here, so we could fit a pretty decent sized tire in there. But just a little bit of grinding. Oh yeah, I gotta finish this one spot. Didn't get that sealed up yet. And then the spot. So almost done. But you get the gist of it. Turned out pretty good. I'm happy with it. So that's what it looks like from the top. So that's what we actually gained, about 2 inches. So same thing, just a little bit more grinding, a little bit of seam sealer. I cut the floor out. Unfortunately, somebody had already put a floor in here and did a really nice job, and you know, it dipped down like a normal trunk would, and it just not the vision that I have for it. So I cut all that back out. I'm gonna cover this all up with some nice sheet metal, and then the gas tank fuel cell is gonna go in the middle. But the site's pretty much done. So yeah, it's looking all right. So I think this is gonna conclude part 1. And this will be quite a few different parts on here. Take off my spectacles. A lot of work on this car, but it's fun, and maybe you'll enjoy it. Maybe you'll learn something. And I just appreciate you guys watching, and if you have any comments, please put them down below, and hit the like and subscribe like everybody normally says. I am trying to grow this channel a little bit and do some more of this stuff. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you on part 2.